My name is Kara Raftery, and I am the Communications and Special Projects Manager for the City of Leavenworth. Leavenworth is located in prime black bear habitat. Statewide, there's about 20,000 black bears, and as far as the city goes, we have been seeing an increase in bear activity. From about 2019 to 2023, the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife received over 430 calls regarding black bears, and on about 166 of those, officers responded due to either property damage or potential human-bear conflicts. As far as it goes to within city limits, we've been seeing an uptick in unsecured trash incidences. Food attractants that attract these black bears to our area is unsecured trash. So we have been working towards mitigating that with our collaborative partners. So in order to mitigate trash attractants for black bears in our area, we have recently leased and installed 55 Big Belly street cans, which is featured right here. They are solar powered. They have sensors which alert us to when they are filling up. And everyone's favorite feature is the foot pedal, so you don't even have to touch the handle. And one of the great things about these is our previous trash cans were only about a 32-gallon capacity for a long downtown corridor. These ones can do 32 gallons of compacted trash, which equates to about 150 gallons of uncompacted trash. So they can handle a lot more trash, which is really great during busy seasons and festivals when we see an influx of tourists. 10 of these have smart sensors, and that alerts our team to when they're nearing capacity, so we can make sure that they don't overflow, which helps reduce food attractants to black bears in our area. It's been a really exciting partnership with the Department of Fish and Wildlife, Waste Management, and several other partnership groups in sort of this education outreach effort that we have been working cohesively on and actively working on, sort of our BearWise strategy for a community. So in addition to the Big Belly cans, in addition to the pilot program that we did last fall with the Defenders of Wildlife, installing we have 46 deployed 96-gallon totes in our commercial accounts, as well as postcards and outreach and videos. I highly recommend people go to the DFW site and watch their videos about living with black bears. We've been working with the chamber to outreach for visitors so they know how to recreate when they come to visit and play in bear country. And it's been a really exciting process, and it's something we're continuously working on. We also have identified some areas in downtown that have higher conflict, and we've been working with them to sort of mitigate unsecured trash, and really that is those bear-proof totes. The biggest challenge that we're facing right now as a city is finding a bear-proof tote for our 300-gallon containers that we use for most of our commercial accounts. I think that most people, as a part of the community, love not only being a part of Leavenworth, but also appreciate the wildlife that we coexist with. So we have gotten some really great feedback, people interested in being more bear-wise or obtaining a bear-proof container from Waste Management for the residents. And even people from out of the area within the county limits have been asking questions. So we've seen a lot of forward movement and a lot of people willing to sort of be a part of that collective effort to be more bear-aware. And that's really exciting, and we're really hopeful that we can enact a big change by using those small preventative BearWise steps.
About 5, maybe 6. Dad and I went camping way up the icicle, and it was when it was a dirt road all the way. And we went fishing, and we cooked our dinner, and then we threw out a pad and slept under the stars. And Dad put the food up, and he said, well, if a bear or anything comes, just crawl down in your bag and just stay there. Don't worry, we'll be fine. And a bear did come, and he woke me up and said, now be real quiet. There's a bear sniffing us. And the bear did sniff and walked away, because we weren't fresh food, I suppose. It was a sleeping bag and such. So that was the first time. I did a lot of trail running, so you're always looking for bears or cougars, and you're kind of a gift for them in a way if they're hungry and if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. But most animals like to go away, but you're always looking, and saw more bear than anything else. Ran into on trails up the icicle mama bear and 2 cubs one day, and that was, okay, so my friend and I made lots of noise and kept on going, and when we came back we started making a ton of noise about a mile away, wherever she was. But yeah, it was always a lot of respect, not a lot of fear, a lot of respect. The flue going upstairs became a haven for yellow jackets, and it was the end of October, and the yellow jackets were laying their larvae. We put this together way after the fact, and she was going up for that larva. The 2 days earlier, late in the afternoon, she had been here on a Thursday. Too late to call the city. Should have left a message. That'd been fine, and I was gone the next day, and then this happened on Saturday. I came out with Pepper. It was 6:30, pretty typical timing. Went up the stairs there, and I stood on top of the stairs on the concrete and watched him go do his thing. The outside lights come on, and I must have heard something because I turned a bit, and at that point, she must have slammed me to the concrete. It totally knocked me out. It laid open the back of my head all the way across. And while I was out, she clawed my leg, which to this day, those spots are very tender. That's just so deep. She clawed across my pelvic region a couple of times, tore a lot open, and when I came to, she was on top of me, and she was rooting around my neck. I woke up enough, and it ticked me off. And that's when I gave her a right hook, and I hit her real hard, and she didn't like that. And then I gave her a left, and she really didn't like that, and she kind of shook, and then she just backed off slowly, and she turned around and walked away. And I went, whoa, okay. I had no idea to the extent of my injuries at that time, none whatsoever. Bears kill by getting the femoral artery or the carotid artery. She went after both. I'm very lucky, but that is how they kill. She missed my femoral by a hair, or I would have bled out. And she didn't get to my carotid because I woke up and I gave her a right punch. I was bleeding an awful lot. My head was open and it was just spinning. I couldn't hardly find a way to walk straight. But I decided the hospital's right there, my car's right there, my dog's right there. I'll go get my keys and drive to the hospital. I can get there quicker than calling 911. I mean, I'm lucky in so many ways. Very lucky. It was and has been a very long recovery. I still have issues, probably always will, with my brain and with the dizziness and the where's my foot going to hit the ground when I walk. But I'm okay. Bears don't do that. That's not a natural thing. That was a weird circumstance. But she had been so habituated to food and garbage cans. She was a huge bear. She was almost 300 pounds, somewhere in there. That's because of the garbage. 10 minutes after she attacked me, she was caught on video up at Yodeland trying to get into food. I probably drove right past her. The habituated ones, yeah, they're worrisome, but regular bears, no, they're not, no. My neighbors up here got the first bear can, and that was a good thing, because those cans were getting knocked over all the time. Certainly have a bear-proof can. Number one, if you have garbage, you have a bear-proof can. If you don't, shame on you. You can take that out. But really, it's vitally important in this community. There are so many cans all over. This bear is gone because it was so habituated to food. And they're trying to, get all the weight on that they can before winter. Bear-proof cans, just being very aware of things around you. Not leaving dog food, bowls of dog food out, bowls of cat food out, anything like that. They smell it. They're just amazing creatures that can find anything. So I guess that's the top of the list. I think of all the tourists that go walking through. When I sat here on this deck and watched people come down one day, there was last summer, mama bear and 2 cubs, and the woman came down in just a little tube, and she was going towards her wanting to get a picture. And mama bear can go right through that water fast. Woman in a little tube is not going to move fast. And I had to yell at her, "Don't do that. You're putting yourself in real peril." And I've done that more than once off of this deck. So there's a lot of concern, especially as the season gets really going. And I know the city feels that way. I know Fish and Game feel that way.
So my name is Rich Beausoleil. I am the statewide bear and cougar specialist for the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. It's a statewide position. I'm based out of Wenatchee, north, south, east, west, right in the center of the state. And yeah, pretty much go everywhere.
Do you have a sense for the frequency of bear conflict calls that you get, if it's gone up or changed in the years you've been doing this?
You know, I've been doing this for 22 years. It's definitely cyclic, you know, in response to food supply, natural food supply, weather conditions, that kind of stuff. But also highly dependent on attractants, which bring bears close to people. We're always going to have bears around these parts, and that's okay. What we want them to do is move through and not stay. We did a 10-year study in the North Cascades. We had a west slope study area and an east slope study area, and it just so happens it was right around here in Leavenworth. So we collared a couple hundred bears over 10 years just on this side of the mountains. And what we found is bears were traveling 30, 40 straight line distance miles to come from their home range to take advantage of these food resources, sometimes turning around and never coming back, other times choosing to settle here. And if it's a mom with cubs who's doing that, those cubs start to learn when it starts getting cool or it starts getting warm, whatever the phase is, that's where I can go get a known meal. A bear's entire life is based on food. You or I know if we miss breakfast and lunch, we're going to have dinner. They don't know that. They live day to day, and so they need about 3,000 calories a day just to sustain themselves, preferably 5,000 calories a day to actually put on some mass. And a pound of blueberries or huckleberries is roughly about, 250 calories. One pound bird feeder is 1,700 calories. So you hit a neighborhood street with 3 or 4 bear feeders, you just lived an entire day. So by the bears' standards, that's time management. That's no different than you or I hitting the drive-through on a busy day. And if we catch them early enough in this behavior and we intervene, we can stop it. And that's the key. We need that engagement from people to understand that if you want to see a bear for a minute and that's fine, scare it off if it's in your yard around Leavenworth. But then report it. Let us know so we can keep track of those sightings and then say, hey, we've got 3 or 4 going here. We might want to jump over there, see if there's any things we need to remove. And then also, maybe we can push that bear back up into the woods where it belongs. It's kind of disappointing over time because you see this cycle and it just repeats itself, and we remove these bears and we do press on it. We don't hide what we're doing. Sometimes we're forced to make these calls, and that's not why we got into the business, and then the locals get upset with us. And I like that. That means they love wildlife. But you need to take those preventative steps to avoid a bear becoming habituated or food conditioned, because that can lead to problems that none of us want. In the last couple of years, things have greatly improved. We've got a good working relationship, and we always have, with Public Works. They service all of the restaurants, all of the businesses and parks like we're in right now, and they have their own garbage removal system. And so they upped removal of those cans from once a day to twice a day. That's a great move. But now we've got 3,000 residents that we need to engage with. They all have individual contracts with their garbage collection service. And so that's a heavier lift. We need some help from City Council, maybe to pass some ordinances, take down your bird feeders, you know, from April through November. If you're gonna raise chickens and goats and sheep and that kind of stuff, there's some basic standards you need to have. That would be outstanding. And then when you see signs like this, and you know you're in bear country, heed those warnings, pay attention. If you live close by and you came down to the park for a walk, well, that's only a hop, skip, and a jump for a bear to be in your backyard. So look around, police each other, help us, help you, and then by doing so, we're gonna help the bears. BearWise is now a conglomerate of wildlife agencies, okay? And all these agency folks, of which I'm one member, we look at these materials, we talk about the content, we all agree on what should be in these if you're visiting, living, or playing in bear country, and you'll see this same brochure in Florida, in Maine, in Idaho, in New Mexico, because we're all members, but the logo will change. So what we're doing is we're trying to standardize language across the country to be more effective and more understandable to people. So we take really complex biological advice and we have a whole team of folks who make it fun. And one of those folks is Linda Masterson, who wrote this book called Living with Bears. And you see, I wrote the foreword, and I was also her scientific advisor. I get no royalties whatsoever. It's just, if you want to learn about bears and why they do what they do, this is a great book to do it. Super technical stuff that a 5th or 6th grader can read and understand. She makes it fun. Here's something that we hang on garbage cans or on trash cans or on doorknobs. Basically, the department can fine people for attracting bears. We've never used it as a hammer. It's been around for over a decade. I'll bet you most people haven't even heard about it because we don't like to do that. But if you ever do get cited, it could be a $150 fine, and we're gonna tell you why you're attracting, give you some contact information, and then once you know, we're gonna give you another warning, and if you don't remove what's attracting bears, we can actually fine you up to $1,000. We don't want to do that, but it's one of our tools. BearWise checklist. So we're distributing these all around town. If you don't have one in your local, contact your city council or any Leavenworth representative or anyone from the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. And it's a checklist that you go around and you say, do I have trash and recycling on my property? If I do, where's it stored? Am I following, quote unquote, the rules? And you check where you're not following the rules on feeding birds, on feeding your pets, on your barbecue grills, on chickens, fruit trees, compost, beehives, all the things that attract bears. And then over time, you'll have a series of checklists, put this on the fridge, and over the next couple months, knock everything off, one a weekend. That's all we ask. And make yourself BearWise. Have your neighbors do the same, and we're gonna make a much better community. Dogs and bears equal problems. So anytime there's been contact, which is not much in the past 100 years, between a bear and a person, it's involved the dog, the majority of the times. So the dog is off leash, it smells the bear, it chases the bear says, what am I doing running from this 30 or 40 or 50 pound dog? Sometimes they'll turn and chase it. Well, guess where the dog comes? Right back to you. And then the bear runs over both of you and heads back to the woods. And we have to classify that. We have to record it. So Do things smart, keep you both close together on leash. You're a much bigger threat to them than they are to you. And so don't split up. It's just like hiking in the woods. We have a guide on using bear spray. Bear spray is so essential. Look at this country that we have around. I mean, we've got Tumwater Canyon, which drains into Leavenworth. We've got Icicle that drains into Leavenworth. We've got Blewett Pass up here that comes down into Leavenworth. We've got the Chumstick that comes down into Leavenworth. Everything feeds down here, but it's an outdoor mecca. And it's a great place to recreate. And by all means, you should. But if you do, carry bear spray. It works on everything. And if you're going to buy it, don't buy just the can. Buy the holder as well. Because if it's not right here, it's useless. You can't have it in the backpack. So this is a great deterrent, much more accurate than any gun could possibly be, because as you're spraying this cloud is building and building and building, and anything that hits that cloud will be in serious pain. It's not going to harm them long term. It'll harm them just enough so they don't want to be next to you. And so you should, when you're carrying this, you should practice. You should practice pulling it out. You should practice popping off that safety and firing it. So they have some cans that shoot just water. It's called an inert can. That's a good way to practice. They're about $8 or $10. Exact same performance as this spray would have. And so when you do need it, I've carried this for 22 years. I've never needed it, but when I do, the one time, I'm going to be prepared. And that's what we want folks to do. So learn about bear spray, have bear spray. Avoid those surprise encounters when you're in the woods. Stick to those simple facts and you'll do nothing but enjoy your trip.